The Treasury is required to send your stimulus payment very soon. If you aren't already aware, according to the latest stimulus bill, the Treasury is required to send those payments out by January 15th. Now, this is great news for most people because they will receive their stimulus payment very quickly. I know millions of people have already received their stimulus payments starting last week. And if you're watching, you might have already received your payment, or you probably know someone at the very least who has received their payment. So for the majority of people, that means an extremely quick stimulus payment. But for a minority, a smaller group of people, it's going to mean a stimulus payment that could be delayed potentially months. So because this is such a huge issue, I wanted to really dive in on the research here and figure out all the implications and what we can do to check the status of our payments, when we can expect our payments, what is the soonest after that January 15th deadline someone could expect a payment if they don't receive one by then, and then what's the longest someone may expect to receive a payment due to complications and other issues. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. If you appreciate this research, please help me out by clicking the like button, subscribing, sharing this video if you find it valuable. It really helps the YouTube algorithm. So just jumping right in, the good news is millions of electronic payments have already been sent out, like I said, and they were sent out in record time, largely because the systems were already in place from the first round of payments. In fact, the first round of electronic payments took 19 days for the very first payment to be sent out. And in the second round of payments, they have 17 days total to send out all the payments. So not only do they need to send these out much quicker, they already are. By the time the bill was signed, it was only a few days before the first electronic payments were sent out. So we have to give a little bit of kudos because those were sent out so quickly, surprisingly quickly. And actually without notice. Treasury Secretary Mnuchin was saying expect payments in about a week. And from the time he said that, people received payments in about 2 days. So not bad, especially compared to the first time around. Even some paper checks have begun being mailed. Now, I haven't been told directly by anyone, hey, I've received my paper check in the mail, but we did receive notice last week that paper checks began being sent out by the IRS. So that's also another great sign. Now, the cutoff for these payments to be sent out is 11 days from now today. I might update the title on each day until we hit that deadline, but as of the recording of this, there's 11 days for the IRS to send out every single payment. Now, that means all the electronic payments, it's very doable to, click the send button, get those sent out. And that also means for the paper payments, that the mail date just needs to be by the 15th of January. So your payment could be mailed by the 15th, and then you might not receive it for 5-6 days afterwards. I'll give you some ideas on how you can track the payment later on in this video. So what happens if you miss that January 15th cutoff? Again, this is because of the language of the stimulus bill and the need to get these stimulus payments out because of taxes. The stimulus payment is categorized as a tax rebate on your 2020 taxes. So by default, the payments needed to be sent out soon enough so people could do their taxes and have that correctly categorized in their taxes. But this isn't to say it has anything to do with your tax refund. It's not going to affect your tax refund. I've seen this asked many times. It's not in advance on your taxes. It's completely separate. It's like a bonus, but it's just attached to your taxes because I guess that's just how they needed to do it. It's categorized as a recovery rebate credit. So if you miss that cutoff, the January 15th cutoff, you're going to have to file your 2020 taxes and apply for that recovery rebate credit for the stimulus payment. Now this goes for the $600 stimulus payment and the $1,200 stimulus payment. If you haven't received that, you can receive both of those, or the dependent payment. Let's say you had a kid sometime in the year of 2020. Then you'll have to file for this recovery rebate credit as well to get your $500 payment and your $600 payment for your child dependent. So any stimulus payment that hasn't been received can be received on your 2020 taxes. Now, this won't be an issue for those who file for their taxes early. There's no issues on their taxes and they receive a refund in a normal time. But for those who wait till later to file their taxes or file for an extension or have an issue on their taxes, that's when these payments can really get delayed months and months down the road. Nearly everyone who is expecting an electronic payment should get it by January 15th, unless there are some account issues. And I've seen this question several times, so I'll go ahead and address it. There's been the question asked, what do I do if my bank account information has changed from the first stimulus payment to the second? And the unfortunate answer to that right now is there's nothing you can do as of right now. We're hoping that the Get My Payment tool through the IRS allows for the change in bank information once that is completely updated. But as of right now, there's nothing you can do. And under current guidance, what they're saying is you just have to wait, and odds are you'll get either that paper check or you'll have to apply for the recovery rebate credit. So that also applies for any other issue that might have changed your payment information. Maybe you were divorced, or any number of reasons that might have changed your bank account. That will also apply for you. So if you're expecting an electronic, there shouldn't be any issue before January 15th, but the paper payments and the debit card payments could be a different story. So luckily, the IRS, the Treasury, has begun sending those out last week. But we've been told a few months ago that they can send between 5 and 7 million payments out per week. So even if they started last week, we're looking at a difference of between 10 and 15 million people who are expecting a mailed payment that it's just physically impossible for the IRS to send out that many payments by January 15th. And that is the group of people that's going to be extremely affected by that January 15th deadline, especially if they wait to file their taxes or if there's issues on the taxes. And also there's been notice that in order to get out more of these payments, we can expect to see more of those EIP debit cards this time around. The first time around, only 3% of people received those debit cards. This time, we might see a shift to more and more people receiving those cards because they're able to send that off to a third party and get more payments sent out quickly. With these cards, they're also saying if you received a card last time, you might receive a paper check. If you received a paper check last time, you might receive a card. They don't really know completely right now, but make sure you are checking your mail, opening all your junk mail. These will come in a letter that doesn't really look like much. It might have a Treasury seal on it. It might not. It was reported the first time around that so many people accidentally threw away their debit cards, not knowing that there was a debit card with $1,200 in there. And we don't want this to happen this time around. So for the next month or two, just make sure you're opening all your junk mail. I know for some of you, you're like, that's ridiculous. Why wouldn't I open my mail? Well, other people don't open all their junk mail. And that's what happened last time around. So if you feel like you're going to fall into one of these categories that could receive the payment further down the road, the next question is, how do I track my payment? Well, the IRS has the Get My Payment tool at irs.gov. However, as of the recording of this, that tool is not updated yet. They're saying that it will be updated this week. If you go on there right now, it's nothing. So we hope to see that updated. And they're also saying that you'll be able to check the status of your electronic check and your paper check on there. So that's huge that they allow for that. They just haven't said if you're going to be able to change your electronic payment information. Now, we might not be able to because they're getting these out so quickly. They might just say, we're just using what we have, we're sending that out, and you'll kind of have to deal with it, whether that means waiting to file your taxes or not. There's one other thing you can do. You can get the USPS app. It's both for Android and iPhone. It's called Informed Delivery. What they do is they scan the mail that you're expecting to receive. You get it a couple days before you actually receive the mail. It's just a scanned picture of all the mail that's coming to you. And then that way you'll be able to know a couple days sooner whether your payment is coming or not. And it'll just allow you to plan just a couple days in advance if you see that payment with the Treasury seal on the letter coming. So that's really all we can do as of right now as far as tracking the payment. I really hope to see that Get My Payment tool up and running very soon. That way people can at least know where they're at. That's what we want more than anything. We don't want to wonder, hey, is my payment coming tomorrow or is it coming in April? That's when it gets extremely frustrating. We want to just narrow down that window. For most people, it won't be April. Most it'll be very soon. So when is the latest you can receive a check? This is the question many of you want to know. So the first category is by January 15th. Most people are going to receive that by January 15th. We can conservatively say about 85 to 90% of people by January 15th. So that's great. But then we have the minority group that might take a bit longer. So then the next group after that would be the first people who file their taxes in January. I did some research. The average tax refund takes 21 days. So if you file your taxes anytime after January 15th and you applied for that rebate credit, you could expect that stimulus payment and your tax refund to be made sometime early February, which honestly isn't too far from now. It's not today, like many people are receiving their payment, but it's also not months down the road. Then the next group, we have the people who will file their taxes later on in the year. You have up until April 15th for the regular deadline. If you were to file your taxes then and there's no issues, again, you have that 21-day window where you could expect the payment sometime early to mid-May. Then the last group, we have the people who will file an extension on their taxes to file it later, or the people who file their taxes late and have an issue on their taxes. Maybe there's an issue with the refund, there's something that needs to be fixed and needs to be sent back to the filer, then back to the IRS, and there's just delays. That's when we could really see a payment being extended months and months down the road. I really hope that's not the case for you watching right now. Make sure your taxes are done correctly so that doesn't happen. But that's everything we know as far as when you can expect to receive a payment, what's going on with this January 15th deadline, and a more realistic narrowing down of the window. Now, we might see a situation where the stimulus payment is also extended by another $1,400, but this is still up in the air. I plan on keeping an eye on this and posting more and more about it. Also, if you want another little kind of stimulus in your bank account, check out the link in my description for Webull, the stock brokerage where you can deposit $100 and they'll give you 2 completely free stocks. You don't even have to spend the $100. You can take it back after you receive your stocks. And it's just kind of like a nice little free between $20 and $1,500. It's kind of like a raffle. So it's another little thing worth checking out. So I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.